there! Welcome to Frostpunk. This gem of a game was developed and published by 11-Bit Studios back in 2018, but it's one that I am constantly coming back to. So let's play through some scenarios, and I'll talk about what my general strategy is for beating the game. We're gonna play some Frostpunk, which is an oldie but goodie. I quite like this game. I'm really looking forward to when they come out with Frostpunk 2. I even have the Frostpunk the board game, which is based on this. It's hard, but a lot of fun. So I thought we could go through some of the scenarios and I could talk about how to beat them. I've beaten all of them on hard mode. I've not done Survivor because Survivor you can't pause the game, and I make a lot of use of pausing. But I've beaten them all up to extreme. So we'll walk through some of these and hopefully have some fun. So we're going to start with one of the newer, later scenarios. You love a nerd queen? Well, that's good because I'm a nerd queen. So you and I are good, aren't we? So we're going to go play The Last Autumn. So let's talk a little bit about the premise of the game. So Frostpunk is all about the world has gone into basically kind of like an ice age. Extreme cold. Society's broken down. The only people surviving are out in these outposts in this extreme northern edge, and you're kind of an outpost from the British Empire. They set up these in some scenarios, they've set up a generator and you have to survive. Spartan, welcome, hi, how are you? I hope you're having a good night. So it's all about resource management, and you're kind of the mayor or governor of the settlement, and you have to grow it and make it self-sufficient. So we're going to start with the Last Autumn, which is a scenario just before the Great Cold event happens. Thank you for getting a shout out for Spartan. Appreciate that, Arkham. So you have to build a generator while supporting a population of workers, and you have to do it before the frost gets here. So let's jump on into that. So we're gonna customize it. No, you know what? We're not gonna customize it. Let's just play on medium, and we'll just run with that. That way we can play with it a little bit. So we'll talk a little bit about the resources and kind of a little bit about the strategy that I like to use, so that if you ever wanted to play it, you can kind of use the same strategy to do the same things. And I will let the cutscenes play that I normally skip through. I just got to remember, don't touch the mouse, don't click.
Personal Journal of Euphemia McLaughlin, Assistant Engineer at Imperial Exploration Company. It's been 5 weeks since we have left the familiar walls of Birmingham behind. Weeks of uncertainty, of struggle, of hope. And finally, we have reached the shores. We had 3 deaths so far. Or small price for progress, as IEC called it. I can only hope I am going to avoid their fate. They've claimed there was nothing to fear, that this whole journey of ours was just a precaution. But now, it feels like the weather is changing. And the winter seems inevitable.
I know they couldn't, but that was the perfect slot to put. Winter is coming. Because winter is coming. Alright, so we crossed the seas, we made it to this site where we need to build a generator, and I'm in charge of doing it. So hopefully we don't fail. Alright, for Queen and Country. So we're going to be building our site here. So the hole has been dug, but we need to gather all of the things, and we need to make sure we have food and shelter, all the basics, right? Okay, so I'm going to pause. Space is the shortcut to pause the game. AWSD you can use to move around. You can also use your mouse to slide at the edges and scroll. You can scroll in and out with the mouse wheel to zoom in and out. But let's talk a little bit about the interface. So right over here, over my head. Ah, there you go. Those are the goals. Those are the things you got to get done. And you do have a time limit. So if you hover over it, you'll see that we have 8 days and 7 hours left to complete these goals. In reality, we have less time, but we're not going to worry about that. And since we're on the bottom, we'll stick with the bottom. So this is our construction menu. It's divided up into categories for the different things that we're going to need to build. Okay, and we'll talk about those in a minute. This is to build roads, remove roads, and dismantle buildings. Normal stuff. So you have 2 meters that you have to keep an eye on. Now, in the last autumn, it's different than in the main game, but they basically function the same. So normally it's not discontent, but it's something similar, and hope. Instead, we have discontent and motivation. So discontent is, people not being happy, right? And motivation is making them happy so they work more and faster, more efficient. Over here we have our book of laws. So as we go through the playthrough, we are going to have to make choices about different laws, and they have consequences. So we'll talk about that as we go. And over here is our economy. This kind of gives you an overview of your settlement. So coal, wood, steel, food, health stats, if anybody's sick or dying, housing conditions. As you can see, we have 90 citizens who are homeless. So that's something we're going to have to deal with. This menu I do not use very often. It's useful sometimes to make sure you have, say, enough coal coming in to support all the heating that you're doing. Given that this is a frost game, you do have to worry about heating. But otherwise, don't use it a whole lot. This is just our citizens again. This, if you hover over it, will give you a breakdown of there are 2 types of adults. You have either workers or you have engineers. Engineers tend to be the more specialized. You can use them for certain things. They won't do other things, but we can get into that as we go. And then across the top, this is where we keep track of all of the resources that we have, right? So coal, we have none. Wood, we have 35. Steel, raw food, which people will eat raw food if they are starving, but it is not a good ratio. Cooked food, you get more. So you always want to make sure you have cooked food, which are the food rations, so people don't eat the raw food. And then this is our temperature, and we can have an overlay. So anything that is red, which is the entire map right now, that means it's comfortable. The people are happy to live in that. I should mention, you can see the other colors that could potentially be here. And the colder it gets, the higher risk they have for getting sick and then having to be an amputee or die. On the other side, we have the rest of the things that we need, so steam cores, and then the structures and things that we need to build the generator. And these are unique to this scenario. And then, of course, we have our timeline. And over here are time controls, but I use shortcuts for it. This tells you what people are doing now, so whether they're working or they are on free time. People will eat in their free time, and they will go seek medical treatment in their free time. And then what time of the day it is. Okay, now that we've talked about the UI, let's get into actually surviving. So, first things first, we're going to need to research things because we don't know all of the things that we need yet. So the very first thing we're going to build is under the tech, and it's going to be the workshop. So this is going to give us all of our technology improvements, new things, more efficient things, all that good stuff. In this particular scenario, I have a way that I like to build. I like to build certain things in certain places. It tends to work out really well as far as making sure that I have room for all the things that I want and keeping things clustered and organized, because I don't know if you noticed, but I'm a little ADHD about organizing things. Just a little bit. So this is how I like to do it. I like to put my workshops right behind this storage pile. This is the stockpile storage pile where our initial stuff is going to be stored. And we can run out of room, so that is something we have to worry about. Now, buildings have to be connected to the main area. So in every other scenario, they have to be connected to the generator. In this scenario, they just have to be connected to the ring that's right outside of the generator we're building. You've not noticed it anyway? Oh, thanks. I'm hiding it so well. Yay. All right, so we're going to tell them we need a road built there. Do we have enough left over to build another one? We do not. Amazing. Okay. So we have some resources laying around here that These are our starter resources. So what I'm going to do is, you can see I can only put workers here, and once we get the workshop up I will show you the engineers. But I'm just going to go ahead and say as many people as possible get on these things and start collecting all of our stuff as soon as it's work time. Okay, so let's go ahead and speed it up. So it is now work time. So this tells you how much you get per hour with the workforce that you have. So if you reduce your workforce, it shows you that. And our engineers are over here building the workshop. So let's get that going. Yes, what? First steps, you want us to clear the area and get the stuff. Yep, got it, working on it. Thank you so much. Okay, workshop is built. I'm going to pause the game. So here's where you can put the engineers. You can see we only have 15 of them. I'm going to say add a new research. Now, this is where a little bit of strategy comes in. So the very first research that I like to do, and you can see we have quite a few tiers, all of these things to research. We don't need all of those things, but they are all there that we can get to. The very first thing I want to research is this faster gathering. And the reason is they're going to gather stuff faster. That means we get more resources faster, which means we can do more research, which means we can build more. You get my point. We need more stuff, so this is how we get more stuff faster. So I'm just going to say start. I'm going to start the timer up again. We have enough to build a second one. I'm going to go ahead and build it. Now these do have a diminishing return. Once you get about 4, you get very little benefit from building any more after that. Most of the time I get by on just 2. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to go ahead and say all 5 slots for the engineers. Now I'm just going to let this run for the rest of the day. Ooh, we got our first research. Very nice. Okay, so the very next thing we need, in this scenario especially, wood is a very limited quantity. So we want our sawmill as quickly as possible. And the sawmill allows us to cut down all of these trees that are hanging around. We also need to clear the area to build stuff, so win-win. Okay, so it is now free time. So what we want to do, now this is my strategy. I like to put a medical post down first because we're going to have people getting sick, because I'm not going to be able to build enough housing for everybody at once, so anybody who is not in a tent has a chance to become ill. And after that, I'm going to build as many of these as I can, which, as I said, not many. We get a whole 2. But we have to connect them to the road. We actually want to go around the back, and we don't have enough wood to do that, so we get what we get. Idle hands. They are throwing rocks down into the hole. It might be dangerous, but there's no other entertainment. So this is one of the first choices that you have. You can either say they have to stop, and so discontent rises because they're all bored out of their minds, or you can let them be, but will that cause a problem later? You don't know. I'm going to go ahead and say let them be because I know discontent is going to be a problem we need to manage, and I don't want any more of it early on than I can help. So, medical posts. One of the other places only engineers can work, and since they have nothing else to do, all of them go in there. So we have 2 of these built, but only 1 can be used because only 1 is connected by road. And all these people are just going to sleep on the ground. Look at them. Look at them. Dog pile. Dog pile. And here's what I was talking about. If they're not in a tent, then they can get sick. And they're complaining because they got a cold from sleeping on the ground and they want shelter. Which, I mean, come on, honestly, you go somewhere to work and you're supposed to be provided for, you would expect at least a tent, right? So I'm going to say I'm going to provide shelter for everyone. Now, there are other options. You could say, I'm not going to do this right now, and people will be angry. You can say, I'm only going to do some, which, depending on your resources, you might have to do that. Or you can go all out and say, in that time limit, which in this case is 2 days, I'm going to get you all shelter. And that's what I'm going to say. Because that's going to be one of our first priorities, getting everybody shelter anyways. So when you complete one of those goals, you get a little boost to motivation, and we could use as much of that as we can get. Alright, back to work. Everybody's working again. And you see we lost some efficiency here because some people got ill from sleeping on the ground. Now, one of our resource piles has been depleted. Great! We have extra people. We don't have a whole lot for them to do right now, so I'm going to tell them to build some road. Ooh, I just realized we forgot to do something. Book of Laws. Good thing we're only playing on medium. It's talking about everything else. So, you can sign laws. And these all do different things. We're not going to go over every single one of them, but one of the first ones I like to do is the chapel. So we'll build a church for them. Anything that is good is going to be in blue text. Anything that could be a negative is going to be in the red text. So this is saying people living near there will have their motivation raised. I'll get a new building I can build. But the downside is I have to build one. This is a cult? Absolutely. It is absolutely a cult. So this blue means I have a new thing to build. That's the chapel there. It highlights it when it's new, and then it goes away. Alright, so after the sawmill, I think we kind of need to work on food. Can you be in the cult? Of course, Arkham. Come be in the cult. Come join us. Come join us. Foragers' Quarters is going to give us a combination of scouts and hunters. So we're going to go ahead and say that is our next priority. And then we definitely want, see, this building will cut down trees, so you'll see what you can get in the green. Now, one of the things we want to be, jumps through the phone. Jump through the screen, Arkham. Jump through the screen. I guess you're watching me on your phone. Everything in the green is within the radius. So what I'm going to do, you can't build in here except for the specific generator buildings. I want to build as far out as possible, but without destroying anything, because trees are going to be a hot commodity. And again, got to connect it to the road. It's her special skill, Spartan. Alright. Try and build a few more tents. So this is just the, like I was saying, this is just the pattern that I like to use. You can build anywhere you like. Just got to think about, one, the resources in the area, so you don't want to waste anything, and organizing. Alright, so we got the foragers, so the next thing we're going to get are the docks. So the docks are... The docks are going to allow us to bring in resources from our homeland.
The shift's over. Time to grab a bite.
I've had to slap plenty through a phone before. It's a skill you learn. Nice. How much wood do we have left? Not enough. That is for sure. So we got that, but we don't have enough wood. I guess we'll throw another tent down. We still have time, but you can see the time is slowly going. Two of the homeless people fell ill. Great. New law. I'm going to sign in evening service, which is going to allow us to use an ability that will increase motivation. It's just going to cost us food. So there's always a cost. And of course we have to actually have the chapel to be able to do that, so, you know. Oh, now what? Reality check. There's nothing for us to do here but work. Well, yeah. So they're unhappy that they're in a remote, cold, and miserable place. So I have to worry about motivation, which we already knew. Let's see what we can do is going to show us the laws again, but we've already looked at it, so we're just going to say, not now. We're good. We understand. We know our purpose. We got this. We're working on it. No one told us what the job really is. Meryl, you should have known. Should have known before you signed that contract. Wait, how much time do we have left? Okay, so we have today, basically, to get housing together. 3, I just need one more. So this is my pattern. I put the chapel there. And then we're going to have a tent or two. Thank you for the screamer. I do have some new sounds, including some new jump scare sounds. We're right back here. There we go. Alright, docks have been researched. So now we're going to work on the generator construction because we don't have enough wood to go to the next level, which is what I would like to do, but it is what it is. So this is the first of the building to... Quack. To create the things that we need to build the generator itself. It is also going to be one of our goals that we have to do anyways, so. And people are getting hungry. Oh, this is unfortunate. We might be running behind a little bit. So, cookhouse is where we cook food. Let's go ahead and get one of those up, since we're finally getting some wood in.
Shift's over. Stow your tools.
And I'm going to start putting some more sawmills out and start clearing some areas here. Alright, now that everybody is no longer gathering things, get over here and build these tents before people get really unhappy. Well, the chapel got built. That's good. Let's get the tents, please. Any day now. There we go. So, I fulfilled the promise. If you fail to fulfill something you say you're going to do, you take a huge hit to discontent. And people are a little bit happier. Yay! Okay, so I'm going to pull 2 of the engineers off of the medical post, and I'm going to go ahead and throw them on cookhouse. That nearly got me. That nearly got me. So as soon as 8 o'clock rolls around, they'll start cooking food into some meals. So you can see 2 raw food is going to equal 4 food rations. So that's why I say don't let people eat the raw food, because you'll get the short end of the stick there. And we're going to put our extra workers over here on the sawmill, because what we really need is lots and lots more wood. Also want to get the foragers' quarters up and running. First one goes there. That there. Do we have enough for anything else? Nope. Okay. I'll leave it alone. Let them go. At 5 o'clock, it always slows your time, so if you're sped up, it will immediately put you down to just normal game speed. And then I just use the number 3 to speed it back up. Alright, so we can potentially make a unit at the foragers' quarters, but we need people to do that. I'm going to wait until one of these is done being gathered. We have nothing left to research at this time, so we need 50 wood to get the next level.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
That's right. Alright, camp life. 2 workers are arguing over the global cooling. So, what do I tell them? Do I tell them to mind your work? The discontent will fall slightly. That's a good thing. Do I tell them, well, the science says so, motivation will rise slightly? Or do I tell them only fools doubt it and both discontent and motivation will rise by a decent amount? I'm going to say let's not push our luck with the discontent and just say so science says and let the motivation rise a bit. So this game is a balancing act between keeping people motivated and happy and also getting enough work done. So we now have enough. We're going to say research the next level. We are also going to create the foragers. So I needed 15 workers, which I had because that steel pile was depleted. And this opens up the map. So this is our location. Uh-oh. I need to turn the volume up on that one. If that was a little louder, that would have got me. This opens up the map, which is going to have all kinds of points of interest on it as we start exploring. Right now, we have 1, so let's go there, I guess. And the rest of the resources are gone, so now we have people to work with. Yay! We want to get some docks set up. I want to make sure we have more sawmills going. We want to start building up and out this way, so I want to start clearing the trees over here so that I have room to build. I like to build all of my housing over here. We have some food rations rolling in, which is good. Book of Laws, we just got our cooldown. So the next thing that I want to sign is, you have a choice here. You can sign into gruel, which is going to stretch your food supplies, but motivation is going to fall and discontent is going to rise. And every time they eat gruel, it's going to cause more discontent. Or you can sign hearty meals, which means raw food is not going to stretch as far. You're going to need more food to feed the same amount, but every time they eat, it's going to increase their motivation. I'm going to bet that we can get enough food in to support having hearty meals, so we're going to sign that law. And we're going to go to the cookhouse and just make sure it's swapped over. So you still have the option to produce the standard meals if you want, but we're going to say do the hearty meal. So it's a 1-to-1 ratio now. And people are happy. It's always a good thing. We're going to put a bunch of people over there. We got our next level, so this opened up the next row of things to research for all the tabs. The next thing we're going to get is the reloading station. So the docks, when they start producing things, are going to produce the raw piles like we just finished collecting around the generator. But if we put a reloading station on top of it, it's going to collect things much more efficiently. So I'm going to say that. We have our first dock. I'm going to say I want you to bring in steel. We're going to bring a bunch of people on that. And then starting in the morning, ships are going to come in bringing us some steel. We definitely need to get that, but before we do, I like to run with 2 docks. So let's see if we can get the other one built. What else do we need? I think that's it. The next thing is going to be the profiles manufacturing. Oh, our scouts forgers have reached the first area. So there's a partially eaten reindeer carcass here. The tracks lead further, so there's nothing to do here. We're going to move on, and it opens up 2 points of interest. Now, I will say that I have played the scenario enough to know what things lead to what. So we're going to go over here. There's an option of the nesting place, a bunch of birds, or hunting grounds. So we're going to go to the hunting grounds. What I'm going to do is I'm going to head for the nearest point of interest that is going to start bringing me in raw food, which is that hunting grounds. The nesting area is going to open up some other things that we will use later. So the second docks, I'm going to say coal, and I'm only going to put a few people on this to start, because I don't need a whole lot of coal just yet, but I do want to start gathering some of it. And we now have a new building we can do, which is the telegraph station, and that's going to allow me to actually order people, workers, and steam cores from the homeland. So here it is, and we're going to stick it right behind the forgers' quarters. I have to drag the street over to it, and we don't have enough wood, so we gotta wait. Alright, so the ship just came in and unloaded, and here's our raw pile. I have 1 person left. Great. Great. Yes, what? Oof, that's right. An engineer is complaining that the workers smell. I mean... Alright, so, do we say he can move and discontent will rise, or do we say, no, deal with the smelly feet and just stay in your tent and motivation falls? I'm gonna say, yeah, you can move, because I don't want my motivation to fall. I'll take the discontent because we had very little. Hey, thanks for watching. I stream over on Twitch weekly and would love to have you drop in and say hello. If you enjoyed, please hit that like button, leave me a comment, and consider subscribing. I look forward to seeing you next time.